The clock struck midnight as the long hallway of the prison infirmary fell silent. The flickering fluorescent lights hummed softly above, casting pale shadows on the walls. Rebecca, the night nurse, moved quietly between the beds, her shoes making almost no sound on the polished floor. She had worked this shift for years, yet every night felt different, heavy, unpredictable and lonely. Outside, a storm whispered against the windows. Inside, the air smelled of medicine, metal, and memories too painful to forget. Most nurses avoided this wing, the death row patients, but Rebecca never turned away. She believed that every soul deserved a touch of mercy, no matter what they had done. Her mother used to say, "God don't measure sins, he measures hearts." When she reached the last cell, she stopped. Behind the bars sat Marcus, a man with tired eyes and a calm presence. His hands rested on the table, wrists cuffed, yet his posture was peaceful, almost resigned. He looked up slowly as she approached, his voice low and steady. "Evenin', nurse." Rebecca checked his chart without answering at first. His file was marked in red. Execution. Tomorrow, 7 a.m. She felt a chill run down her spine. She'd seen those words before, but somehow this time it hurt more. Marcus wasn't like the others. There was no anger in him, no arrogance, just a quiet sadness. She took his pulse, noticed how steady it was. "You feeling all right?" she asked softly. "As all right as a man can feel when time's run out," he replied, a faint smile tugging at his lips. For a moment, silence filled the cell. The rain outside grew heavier, drumming against the glass like a heartbeat. Rebecca hesitated, then sat down on the chair opposite him, something she wasn't supposed to do. Rules were strict here. But something in Marcus's eyes made her stay. He looked at her hands. The same hands that had tended to men's society had already buried in spirit. "You ever wonder what makes people change?" he asked quietly. She didn't know what to say. Maybe she didn't have an answer. As she stood to leave, Marcus spoke again. His tone softer this time, almost pleading. "Ms. Rebecca, before they take me tomorrow, I got one last favor to ask." The words hung in the air like a secret waiting to be revealed. Rebecca froze, her hand still on the metal door. She turned, meeting his gaze. Deep, tired, human. For the first time that night, she felt something stir inside her. Curiosity mixed with compassion. Outside, thunder echoed through the corridors, but inside that small cell, the world had gone still. Something was about to begin. Something far greater than duty or law. The next night felt heavier than usual. The storm had passed, but the silence that followed was almost worse. Thick, still, and full of things left unsaid. Rebecca walked the same long corridor, her badge cold against her chest, her thoughts restless. She told herself she wouldn't stay long in Marcus's cell this time. But deep down she knew she would. Marcus was sitting by the small metal table when she arrived, a single light bulb glowing above him. His Bible lay open beside a worn notebook, pages filled with shaky handwriting. When he saw her, he smiled faintly, the kind of smile that hides a lifetime of pain. "Didn't think you'd come back," he said. "I'm just doing my job," she replied, though even she didn't believe her own words. She checked his vitals. Heartbeat steady, pressure normal, but her hands trembled. Something in the room felt different, heavier, almost sacred. Marcus closed his notebook and pushed it gently toward her. "You ever think about what happens after?" he asked. "After what?" "After the world stops looking at you like you a monster." Rebecca didn't answer. She saw the way his eyes glistened under the dim light, full of guilt and exhaustion. This wasn't the face of the man in his file. This was someone who'd been living inside his own punishment for years. He took a deep breath. "I killed a man, you know that. But I didn't mean for it to happen. It was supposed to be just a robbery. I was young, stupid, trying to prove something, to people who don't even remember my name now. But that man, he had a wife. Angela." He said her name softly, almost reverently. "She wrote me once, told me I'd taken everything from her. She was right. I wanted to write her back, but what could I say that'd make it right? Rebecca looked at the notebook again. Its cover was frayed, the edges stained. Inside were dozens of unsent letters, all addressed to Angela. Each one began the same way. "I'm sorry. You want me to send these?" she whispered. He shook his head. "No. Just one. The last one. I want her to know. I finally found God. I finally understand what I did. I want her to forgive me, not for my peace, but for hers." Rebecca felt her throat tighten. This wasn't a criminal speaking. It was a man who had spent years trying to make peace with a ghost. "Please," he said quietly. "You don't have to say yes. Just think about it." She held the letter in her hands. One page, folded neatly. His handwriting unsteady but sincere. The guards would never allow her to take it. The rules were clear. But as she looked into Marcus's eyes, she felt something shift inside her, a pull stronger than fear or protocol. "I'll think about it," she said finally, though in her heart, the decision was already made. When she left his cell, she could still hear his voice echoing softly through the hallway. "Maybe forgiveness is the only freedom I got left." Rebecca walked back to her station, the letter hidden in her pocket. The world outside slept peacefully, unaware that a single folded piece of paper now carried the weight of 2 broken lives, and maybe the chance for both to be healed. The dawn broke quietly, painting the sky in faded gold. Rebecca drove down the empty highway, the letter resting on the passenger seat like something alive. The further she went, the lighter the city became behind her, and the heavier her thoughts grew. The road stretched endlessly through quiet fields and sleeping towns. The radio played soft gospel music, songs her mother used to hum on Sundays. Every lyric felt like a sign, whispering that she was doing the right thing, even if it meant breaking the rules. She thought of Marcus, alone in his cell, counting the hours. And of Angela, somewhere ahead, still living with the pain of what he'd done. Rebecca tightened her grip on the steering wheel. This wasn't about duty anymore, it was about mercy. After hours of silence and prayer, she reached a small neighborhood. Children played in the yards, unaware of the letter that could change a life. Rebecca parked in front of a modest house with faded paint and flowers by the steps. Her heart pounded as she stepped out, letter trembling in her hand. She walked slowly to the door, each step heavier than the last. For a moment she almost turned back, but something in her spirit whispered, "Keep going." Rebecca took a deep breath, raised her hand and knocked. The door opened. A woman stood there, calm, older, her eyes tired but kind. "Can I help you?" Rebecca swallowed hard. "My name's Rebecca. I came to give you something from Marcus." The woman froze. Time seemed to stop. In that silence, Rebecca knew nothing would ever be the same again. The air inside the house was still, carrying the faint smell of coffee and old memories. Angela sat at her kitchen table, the letter trembling in her hands. Rebecca stood nearby, silent, unsure if she had done the right thing. Angela looked at the envelope for a long time before opening it. The paper was thin, the handwriting uneven. She began to read. "Angela, I don't ask for mercy. I ask for peace, for you, not for me. I took what I can't give back, and I've carried that weight every day. I found God behind these walls, but He told me something I didn't expect, that forgiveness isn't freedom from punishment, it's freedom from pain." Angela's lips trembled as tears slid down her cheeks. Her hands shook, but she kept reading until the end. Then she placed the letter gently on the table and covered her face. "All these years," she whispered, "I prayed for justice. But maybe what I really needed was peace." Rebecca stepped closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "He didn't want to ease his conscience. He just wanted you to know he was sorry." Angela nodded slowly. The anger that had once lived inside her seemed to fade with every breath. She looked up, eyes soft with something between sorrow and grace. "Tell him. I forgive him. Tell him he can rest now." Rebecca felt a lump rise in her throat. She hadn't expected forgiveness, Not like this, not so pure. As she left the house, the sun was setting, warm light spilling across the street. She looked at the sky and whispered, "He'll know." In that moment she understood. Forgiveness doesn't erase the past. It heals the heart that's been carrying it. The sky was still dark when Rebecca returned to the prison. The halls were quieter than ever, heavy with the weight of what was coming. The letter was gone, but its message burned inside her heart. She walked quickly to Marcus's cell. The guard stepped aside. It was his last hour. He sat on his bed, hands folded, calm. When he saw her, his eyes lit up with a soft, grateful smile. "You went, didn't you?" Rebecca nodded, her voice trembling. "I did. And she forgives you, Marcus. She said you can rest now." For a long moment he didn't speak. His eyes filled with tears, but his smile stayed. "Thank you," he whispered. "That's all I ever wanted." The guards came to take him. Marcus stood, head high, peace in every breath. As they led him away, he turned once more toward Rebecca. "Tell her, I'll carry that forgiveness into the light." She watched until the door closed behind him. Then the silence returned, deep, final, almost holy. Later, when the siren echoed to mark the end, Rebecca sat alone in the infirmary. She opened her small notebook and wrote, "Some souls find freedom only when others choose to forgive." Outside, the first rays of morning touched the sky. The night was over. Marcus was gone, but in some quiet corner of the world, peace had finally found its way home. If you felt the emotion, the faith, and the redemption in this story, subscribe to the channel for more powerful and inspiring stories every week. Each episode brings you deep tales about life, forgiveness, justice, and hope, told straight from the heart.